Hi, I'm Jinx, and welcome to Anyland. This is Haunted Woods Trails. This is a director's commentary, designer's commentary, kind of post-mortem of Haunted Woods Trails. I'm going to run through and kind of point out a bunch of things and describe my thoughts behind the design of some of this and how I accomplished some of it and all that jazz. Um, Delco and I made this for Halloween 2017, and as far as I know, it's the first Haunted Woods kind of trail experience in VR. I was kind of surprised and a little disappointed that no one had done this yet because it seemed like such a natural thing for VR and any of these kind of experiences where you don't physically have to go anywhere anymore or even just during a certain 2 week period of the year. And so I wanted to do it, and we did it. And Delco and I spent a lot of time in here and knocked out a lot of details and came up with a bunch of things and designs that we hadn't done in any of our previous worlds, even in the underground, and kind of ran with it. And yeah, we got it all done. We actually got it done a little early and was able to do a little haunted house that way, which I'm going to actually go through first. So anyway, let's get through. I'll show you my point of view here. So you start in what I called the Halloween hub, right? And this is just kind of a hangout space. Halloween themed, obviously. And over here, you can see we made masks. So I made a bunch of masks. So you can open up your Me menu, and each one of these masks has a hidden sphere, invisible sphere in the back here. So it can attach to your hat sphere, so you don't have to replace your head. You can replace your head if you want, but you know, these are very normal head looking. And the Cthulhu mask. I always enjoyed the skull and the pumpkin for classicness. And I made these fun t-shirts that are based on Fazzy's t-shirt model base. This one has a cloak, gets smashed with the pumpkin, looking all drunk. On the back it says, "In Haunted Woods Trails." It's kind of fun, souvenir. Shed, the stuff there. With the start, I'm going to go over here, and actually this is so dark. Let's see, I'm going to not even hold a torch, I'm just going to hold a light. Which actually might end up being too bright. So, if we can stick our head through here, you can see there's kind of a path down there and some fog. The original idea for this, again, it's super dark. We're going to just go back into the light where it's safe. The original idea was that I wanted you to start in a parking lot in the woods and have a little path that would lead to here that you could get to, but that didn't really work out. The part count here was getting kind of high right at the start, and I wanted a smooth loading time for anyone who comes in, so I'm just like, I'll just fence this off, make a path that goes into the whatever, and there. So we have, I'll show you that later, this little space you could stand in the coffin and take a picture of yourself if you set your camera to desktop. A little hut with some fun stuff in there. And TV will let you play videos locally that's not surround sound. And voice amps are disallowed in this area so that nobody gets interfered with the spooking by anyone else's chatter. A couple of classic Halloween jokes here. You're welcome to come in and see all that. So I want to start this way because this was what I considered the safe path. There are no jump scares this way to the house. You can see the top of the house in the fog out there. This is intentional because I wanted, like the hub, hangout spot. You can hang out in the graveyard, you can hang out in the spooky house, and you don't have to worry about getting your pants scared off, your avatar scared off. On the way, let's point out Delco's best graveyard sign in any of Anyland, I think, with an Easter egg no one knows about. The graveyard. Alright, so here we go. Going into the graveyard. Very, very simple salt line. Keeps demons out. Or the spirits in, depending on your point of view. Yeah, we have a bunch of things to see here. This is our credits stone. We go through here, and this is all kind of spooky. And one thing I just want to point out, super dark again, is these hills are just stretched out spheres. Green, they don't even have textures, but they're just enough to block line of sight from out. So you don't feel like you're in a void so much. I mean, you kind of are anyway, but little bits of details going on. Because when you look back, you can see everything, but like I said, just enough to make you feel like you're not just floating in a void, that maybe you are going up a hill. I said there are no jump scares. There are actually 2 little ones, and they're light bulb bursts. So, full warning if you're watching this video and you haven't been here before, this bulb, when neared, bursts. And that scares me sometimes when I forget about it. So we're approaching the Hugo house, and the reason I named it is, you'll see, if you even know, the entrance here, the whole opening area, which you can't quite see. Can you see the ghost? That whole space is based on, very loosely based on Hugo's House of Horrors, the front opening room in the house. Old 90s adventure game. Love it. Good stuff. So there's a ghost on the stairwell. Is just made of particle effects, and when you open the door, he starts floating there, and he goes through the wall. And there's something on the other side of that wall. So here we have a nice kind of spooky house. It's probably too dark, so I'm going to just, again, hold this so it's not quite so dark. Get the TV, hear the static. Yeah. Grandfather clock going crazy. Tobin's spirit guide floating. And hey! Possessed teddy bear. Nice bookshelf under the stairs. I'm gonna try this without the light and see if it's too dark. Look at the kitchen. You're like, oh, blood in the sink. That's weird. Ooh, kind of creepy. Oh, okay, that's creepy. Oh, this poor guy is missing his hand in some sort of ritual sacrifice thing. In low polygons. All right, I love this spooky looking. I'm gonna say spooky a lot in this video. Dining room. Oh, there's a guy's hand with an Anyland ring. Oh dear. I'll point out this. Delco did this a couple times in here. It just looks like an imported image, right? But notice it's got kind of a nice glow. Well, it's actually a part, invisible, that's glowing there. And so when you step back, it gives off a nice glow. It's kind of a nice surrealistic view. Okay, you can go up the stairs, you can see what's in there, you can see what's in there, there's a closet, you can see what's in there, all the good stuff. This I built at little scale, kind of like this, and then blew it up and then aligned all the walls, and then we did the details, and Delco threw on a bunch of the details, the pictures, the railings, all this jazz. So this was the last thing we built here. Wasn't even sure we were going to have time for it, but we did, and we threw this together in like 2 nights and maybe a 3rd night just for some extra details. The carpet also is just an image imported. Delco found this one and just made a perfect fit for this place. Alright. As a hint, this bookshelf you can't do anything with when you're on this side, but if you go to the end of the trail, you actually come up under the stairs and you slide that away and you come out here, which is neat. Oh yeah, there's another painting that he did the glowing light to the windows. Good job, Delco. You rock. Alright, so this is going to be, again, dark. It doesn't feel quite so dark when you're actually in VR because of the sense of dimension and all that jazz. That sense of presence and actually being there. Alright, when you start, this arrow kind of guides you towards. It's overkill, of course. I mean, you should be able to figure it out really quickly. There's also a hidden block here that when someone new in vicinity, it plays a heartbeat sound, which I made from 2 drum sound effects playing in repetition. It's subtle. I don't think people even notice it. Boom, boom, goes off. But, ooh, I just love the little subtle stuff. Alright, so like any good haunted house experience or haunted trail through the woods, we have a little sign and it tells you, yes, it's dark and there are jump scares and strobe lights and all this stuff. So full warning, if you're sensitive to any of that, don't go this way. You can go that way though, it's pretty safe. I always like this line. Our actors are not prevented from touching you, which is great because in VR you can have, which you'll see, the Banshee fly right through you because it's not real. So you go all that. When we launched, we didn't have the ability to disallow voice amplification, and it's kind of a culture in Anyland for newer people to immediately load into a world and then eat a voice amp so that their voice gets broadcast everywhere, and that can often be annoying when you have an experience that is meant to be dark and spooky and quiet. And so Philip was kind enough to add for us a disallow voice amp command. So this sign used to say, pick this up and it'll disable your voice if you accidentally ate one. But now it's just letting you know that, hey, it is disallowed and we are sensitive to the ambiance of the spookening. So now try to take a ticket and start the trail. This never got old when people were hanging out here and I got to see them. Because, oh, tickets, please take one off. Oh, great. I mean, this is pretty straightforward if you've ever been to a haunted house or haunted trail experience. There might be someone in here and selling you a ticket counter, you know. So you go to take a ticket, and that happens. Of course, this is VR. You can put your hand through anything. But because it's VR, it allows for that, and people jump. I love it. I made a door back there so you can actually get in if you want to play host and see the guillotine come down. But that surprise, and this does reset automatically. But that surprise of having that come down, the sudden splatter, and you're not being able to see your hand, just freaked people out, which is exactly what I wanted. You can't actually take the ticket either. It was just for that effect. Alright. So this is dark, and again, if you are trying to watch this video on like your phone, I'm sorry. This is going to be way, way too dark for that. I'm going to carry this lamp ball just to give you a better sense of the lighting. Because again, when you're here in VR, it's dark, but it's not so dark you can't see. So we have this entrance, very, in my opinion, classic. Bunch of dead trees, bunch of leaves on the ground, just texture, so to keep the part count low. And you're kind of surrounded by these rock walls, just to give you a sense of this donut shape being enclosed, like you're coming into a place. And now you have a choice, but it's all going to lead you to the same spot. So the choice doesn't really matter, whatever. The rocks are just, it's the same way I do caves in the underground. I just use that one shape and then stretch it, and these are just stretched huge. And I gave them a little texture. And the other thing to point out, there's a high level density of fog, and it's just kind of a gray fog, and I love the way it, well, pop out. That's unfortunate. I love the way the fog looks. So one of the most useful commands when creating spooks, if you heard that sound effect come from the trees, is just the when neared command. I'll put an invisible block, probably right about here, that's invisible and uncollidable now, so that you can't accidentally hit it, touch it, or whatever, but it just triggers when you're near it. It does a tell nearby or tell any command, and then the sound effect box is in those trees. So you get near to the invisible block that you don't know is there, and then it tells a command to play the sound effect. So over here, this will be just quick. Same thing. The candle goes out when you're when neared. Tells the candle to go out. The candle goes out, and then it tells a command to a something controller, which all these hands are connected to under the ground. And it tells them the something controller just to go to step 2, and they come up. Now each one is on its own separate sub thing to wave. So it's like rah, 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 rah. Cool. I'm gonna skip that. It's not important. This is another when neared. Sound effects. When neared, play the one sound effect. then play it again, but louder. When neared, sub-thing controller takes the lid and just through 3 states, kaboom. Easy, but effective. Sets that scariness. I think in one of my lighting videos I showed off this candle. This is a placed light on a sub-thing. And the sub-thing controller is just going in kind of an oval. It's just enough to give you that sense of Invisible Man. Alright, because this was a donut going all the way around, people would come around, they'd come back, and then they were like, wait, what? That's it? So I had to put a sign, because people are blind. I don't know how you miss the river and the covered bridge and all the giant trees in the background, but somehow people just, I don't know. So I put a sign that specifically said this way to draw their attention with a candle here. So we come through here, and another, I'm going to place this light so it's more obvious to see, and turn off change things to show it. Dirt on the ground is walkable. Leaf bits like this, it looks like, you know, autumn leaves all fallen in, are not. And greenery is walkable. So I kind of used that to control people. I mean, yeah, okay, you can cheat with some sort of teleport gun and get over there, but why? There's nothing over there to see, just no reason to go there. So controlling the flow on the dirt. And you can walk around on the grass here if you want to get kind of up to a certain point, because I don't want you going into the water. So, yeah, if you want to get some other shots of that, you can. Alright, I'm going to grab this and change things and move along. Let's see. The moon. I wish moon didn't pick up fog, because it would look really cool. Alright, so you approach the covered bridge and you see the bats. And a lot of people think the bats are going to fly out, but they don't. They're just enough to give you that kind of creepiness, like, are they going to? Are they watching me? What's going on? Because while you're looking up here, maybe you see the speaker head, maybe you don't. Doesn't matter. It's not meant to be a surprise, just a thing. But if you're looking up here, you're probably not noticing the bodies hanging at the end of the bridge yet. Some people notice them first and never notice the bat. So you get through here. That violin sound effect seems so lo-fi that it sounds like it comes from a speaker. A speaker just like you would have set up in one of these experiences. So this, turn off the light so you get the darkness effect. This freaks people out, which, you know, obviously is the point. This guy is rotating a little bit. If you manage to brush past her with your hand, well, it's all parts, when touched, all parts play that sound effect. And this, I always joked, looked like, oh yeah, old guy's head actually just falls off. This guy's swinging slightly back and forth, and I joked that he looks like Super Mario. And just as you get across here, flaming skull hits that, and you see there's a body. Just another thing, using red, a medium color red, high saturation, with the plastic material. It gives a good shiny, wet blood look. So, back to the bodies. Just rigged up bodies, uses how to make them rotate, just a sub thing. Make the sub thing rotate back and forth, and then attach the body as a placed sub thing. Boom. Same thing with him swinging. This is a little vignette. You can peer in here. See, there's creepy spider. Some blood, lots of blood actually. Go around here, and a cage. Just a vignette. And looks like some bodies got buried here. And you turn around here, big spider. Alright, moving along. Again, with the big green hills, these have textures this time. Just to block line of sight. So when you look back, it's meant to block line of sight so you don't see the void. Now I didn't do that in this little forest, and I probably should have. Because, you get here and it's kind of like, ooh, big trees, canopy of trees. That's a neat effect. Can't see the stars so much, but you'll see like through there, it just ends, like the end of the world, where the sidewalk ends, right? Let's go through here. That, and there's a ghost that appears. I love that. Delco made that. It's just perfect. It doesn't continue, it just vanishes. So lots of people are like, oh, where to go, where to go? So use the green hills here to block line of sight back. That helps, I think, things not render, keeping frame rate up, but also so you don't see what's behind, because there's nothing behind there. And again, I should have probably wrapped it all the way around the edge of this. But I did kind of large trees and fairly dense, so people shouldn't be looking, oh, look at that, I just see blackness over there, what's that? If people are worried about that, then they're worried about the wrong thing. Just going through here. Spooky eyes that will follow you. I started that in the underground near the end. And it's just a neat thing. They're just face nearest. And there are two of them. Alright. So, more terrain work with the green hills to block line of sight, some big trees. That big green hill. And then you come to this. And this is kind of neat. That brick looks out of place, doesn't it? I wonder when that happened. So this looks kind of neat because it always looked like, you're kind of going into the ruins of, I don't know, a dungeon or a catacomb or something like that. So you kind of come down here, and I'm going to turn off this light again so you get the darkness effect, because the red lighting is, it's dark, and then you see the red lights here, even the red candle. So you get to here and you're like, oh. Okay, if you start walking in, you hear them all mumbling and chanting. But you have to walk past these guys. So are they going to jump out at you? Do you know? Why does that one have a hand? And none of the other, that one's going to jump at me. That one's going to like reach out and grab me. And it doesn't. And one of the neat things about building a haunted experience is the flow. Sometimes you want to have jump scares. You want to like shock people and surprise them with something. Sometimes you want nothing to happen. That's kind of my philosophy, is sometimes quiet, creepy, and nothing happening is more scary, because you start building up an anticipation for something to jump out or something to happen, and it's building and building, and you know, you get to a point where it's like at this level of like, I'm really expecting something to jump, and then it does, and then you get relief, and now you're expecting, now you've lowered your anticipation level again, and you let it build again. So you kind of like, my philosophy of building a haunted experience, you need to let it flow, the ups and the downs. You can't just, if you do scare after scare after scare, jump, then people expect every turn something's going to jump out, and they get desensitized to it, I think. Because like, oh, that jumped out. Oh, that's the next thing that jumped. Oh, yeah. It's like when you watch old cartoons and you see the brighter colored object in the background, the book on the shelf, and you know that that's going to be something the main characters interact with, or it's going to jump out or something, because that's how animation coloring was done back, you know, in old cartoons. So, moving along, nothing happens here. It's just a creepy place to walk through. That's a feint. It doesn't jump out at you at all. We come to this chain room with this strobe light, and the guy starts to laugh. And that's the Banshee. She goes right through you. That is one of the biggest jump scares in this place. And all it is a when neared command, I think right around this doorway, an invisible block. And I'll try not to look at the blinking lights. But there's an emitter. There's an emitter in those bars there. And she is just an emitted thing floating. And she's set to I think uncollidable, because she deletes herself after 5 or 6 seconds, so she travels about halfway through here and vanishes. So she'll go through you and anyone who's behind you. In here, strobe light creates this crazy effect, especially as you're walking around. Kind of gives the illusion that these chains might be moving. The sound effect, I have 4 sound effect invisible blocks that are just, when neared, play this chain rattling sound. So it kind of gives that sense also that you're actually walking through. And this kind of a callback to the underground. Just repeated rocks. And then a little wooden stairway with a little creak sound. Into, turn this off so you can see the purple lighting, the coffin maze room. This isn't much of a maze, really. The room itself is one of the we call mod rooms in the underground. Pre-built, prefab room with the 4 corners cut out. So you could throw in a wall. Get there, a wall of shelves. So you can walk around here, and oh, not that way, and oh, not that way. And then you hear the breathing in that coffin. Nothing happens, no jump scares in this room. Again, it's one of those tense ones. You got the big jump scare from the Banshee. Now you get some tense moments. And, there's a little bottle of blood if you want. Doesn't do anything, but it's fun. So you come to here, and I had to put a sign here, unfortunately. Load screens, the scariest thing of all, hide your kids! When traversing this bridge, the cornfield beyond those hills loads. And because I used a bunch of parts per corn stalk and then copied them and then merged them into one thing and then merged those down, they ended up being a bazillion parts anyway, like the way everything gets rendered. So I probably should have redesigned that area, but there are 3 load screens as you cross this bridge, and I can't help it unless I had redesigned the place. So that's one. That's one. That's 2. That drops out. Classic. Classic. Classic Jinx rope bridge. Oh, it's actually 4 load screens. You know that that's gonna fall out if you see a rope bridge that I designed. I can't help it. Just enough lighting. It's dark. The original idea of doing the hills like this was not just to force you to this door in this little shack, but also, again, to block line of sight what's beyond, and ideally to block rendering, but that doesn't happen, again. If you look back, you can see all the different things of hills, the terrain sculpting I did. Again, blocking line of sight. Low part count and blocking line of sight are the 2 design things when I do an outdoor area like this. Keep the part count low so that the frame rates are good, so you don't get so much reprojection if you can help it. And then blocking line of sight so that you can't see the backs of things and the hollowness of design and the void. So, go in here. And I'll keep it dark because light bulb burst. That gets everyone. So turn back door. Alright. So you got just a little shack, right? So here's a guy who didn't make it. Something happened here and he's been around for a while. His skin's kind of green. Yeah. Some sort of cage or something that died. And a hanging bulb. Okay, cool. So you're like, alright, that's a neat little vignette. Let's leave. Hey. And he's gone. And what is that? But this is all just a ruse because it's a coat rack. But in the darkness, you might not notice. That guy vanishes with a sound effect under the floor. He's just controlled by a sub thing. After a few seconds, the door opens. So then we have the alien, who if you try to approach, vanishes. With that sound effect, that mysterious alien-y sound effect. That's fun because if you're the first person out from a group out of that door, you see him, you go towards him, and then he vanishes. And you're like, what is that? What is that? And the other people are like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That door now, will, since it gets triggered, the first sequence in that vignette, will open and close continuously. When giving tour to the people, what I always enjoyed doing, especially when I was in my giant six-armed, suited, headless, or detached head avatar, I would let everyone come in there so they could do this vignette. I would fly over and stand here and wait, and just wait there until they came out, and it would scare people, which is fun. Live acting. Here's the cornfield of too many parts that causes the load screen. There is a wind sound effect that blows here. You get these trellises with the lights, and as you get halfway through, it's like the spirits of the land are all rising up around you. This is just done with particle effect, obviously. One block particle effect stretched to be covering an area. And it's really neat, especially when they fly up in your face. So moving along, well, like that. Moving along, this was just kind of a... wanted to do a pumpkin field, but again, pumpkin patch, pumpkin field. But again, with the part count being what it was, what was it? 1082. Since the year that Haunted Woods came out, Anyland had an update that merged things way better. I think this area was actually 16 or 1700 parts when you included all that and all the things and all the jazz that was going on. So this was just a very simple, like super simple pumpkin field, the glowing eyes in the darkness and smoke effects and the scarecrow dude, you know, like kind of a smashed pumpkin with pumpkin guts pointing the way. This was, again, just to kind of be a low-key, chill, like, oh, this is a neat little vignette, but there's not much really happening here. So you get to here, the strobe light starts. Actually, the strobe light starts to render, which is what turns it on. And now you have what you think is a little maze. Go now, we should go that way. Come here, you get one of those statue dudes. If you come around this corner, almost as an Easter egg, and I'm gonna need the light. It's me! As a statue, ready to scare people in the dark, because it's black in the dark. So go now, with the arrow, bloody hands. See that? And you're like, okay, here's this. Now what's gonna happen, I'm sure it's gonna pause in the video for a second, is a teleport. That wasn't so bad. So you go through there. So this section that we've entered now is like 2 miles, probably a mile, relatively away from the other space. And did that just so that everything we build this way was further away, rendering wise, from everything else. So it kind of reset the part counts in the rendering, because there are lots of trees coming up and other stuff. So I didn't want to have any pop in of trees in the distance, and also didn't want to have any more load screens. So here we have kind of a hallway classic, kind of like draped tarp stuff going on here. Spooky sound effect from the corner. As you turn the corner, this is super creepy feeling, because these hands don't move. They don't do anything. But because they stick out so far, you have to walk through them. So it just gives you the creepy feeling. Even though, promise, they won't move at all. Not any of these. You come through here. That one moves. So that one springs out with that drill sound effect. And that is, again, with the flow, you do creepy, and you build anticipation, and you're walking through, and you're like, I'm being touched, and then you get the actual jump scare. That has made people curse out loud. It's funny. So you come out of there, and again, I wanted to get that like low budget painted hallway with tarp thrown around feeling, the light shifting. And we come to more woods, dead woods, clearly. And this just looks so neat in VR. Again, I'm gonna bring a light so it's not quite as dark, I think. But when you're here in VR and it's kind of dark and foggy, you're like, wow, this really feels like it could be some woods. And that's saying stuff because, you know, it's all about the experience and not just because they're lo-fi trees doesn't mean, or low polygon trees, doesn't mean that they can't give you sense. So what we did here was we roped off with fencing. Delco made these cool, gnarly little fences that we call broken down. And out of change things mode, when you're not an editor, you can't get over there, over the fence. Really stand on the fence, but you get through it that way. The idea was just to have a space that we could just throw some stuff in. And really we didn't do a whole lot in here. We probably could have. But again, worrying about part counts and slowing down people's frame rates, didn't want to. So, things to note. This was something, turn that off because it's reflecting. Okay, giant jack-o'-lantern with a light inside. Just wicked cool, I think. This is something I've seen in Haunted Woods that I've been through in the years past and also found online, was that you map out or close off some trees with white sheets with blood effect on them, and then you do a murder scene, basically. Or in this case, some sort of ritualistic murder. Poor guy. Heart's still beating though, so I mean, he can come back, right? Anyone? Can I get a res? Alright. Just, again, a way to do a vignette. Block line of sight as you approach, forcing you to come around the corner so you can see it from a certain angle, from the intended angle. So we got that. Go back to the light. Weird tentacly thing in a cage. Yeah, fireflies or fairy lights or something in a cage up there. Fallen tree. Slime dude rising out of a slime pool. Let's see, where do I want to go? Oh yeah, this guy in the dark. If you're just wandering around, you're kind of looking here, and yeah, it's really dark. You might not see him, so I'm gonna kind of like look down to give this effect. That cough sounds like a real human being player in Anyland. That it has scared me plenty of times. And that just draws your attention up, and you're, oh, I didn't realize he was here, even though he was literally at my head height. This was a take on the classic 3-head table for Halloween ideas, where you have 2 masks and a real person. 2 masks, it doesn't matter. So when people approach, they think, oh, that's neat. There are 3 masks, 3 severed heads on a table. And when you approach the real human being who's hiding the rest of his body under the table, starts talking or goes boo or whatever. And in this case, I used the masks I made, and hopefully it's obvious that they're supposed to be on like styrofoam balls or eggs. But that guy, and then he goes into his face. It's just a nice freaky surprise. Alright, moving along. This is the next part of the path, which, again, you get a bunch popping up there if you're looking up. This is just supposed to be just to get you away from the part counts over there, as well as, again, with the flow, nothing scary. We thought about making, a skeleton head, a skull or something, some part of fall and roll down the hill as you approach, but it's like, yeah, nah. Now what we might do is, since we have the destroy script, see the skeletons go fall apart into its basic bones and then roll down. And because I can't model a real skull, even though I've tried, I'm still using the square skulls that I designed for the underground. And you know what? That worked because I did squared off kind of bones, and it's a theme. It's my theme, and it works. So even though it kind of gives you more of a Disney skeleton, the old Steamboat Mickey and the dancing skeletons in the graveyard thing, I'm okay with that. Bend it all. P who enter. Classic, of course, almost expected. This is super dark, so I'm just going to keep the light with me. But you have to navigate in an S-curve, and then you get that ominous sound that Delco found. Kind of like, what is this? Now this is basically the ending area. And I always wanted it to branch into 3 ways. And then we had some ideas, and we had some new ideas, and we had some crazy ideas, and all sorts of stuff. So, shortcut to the abandoned mine to the Hugo house. This, and I'll take you this way anyway, when I come back. This will take us to some mines and back through a teleport trick to the Hugo house. Beware of Demigorg. Oh, that can't be good. Stranger Things reference, of course. How can you do Haunted Woods at a time when Stranger Things is pop culture and not have a reference, right? So if you walk through here, the eye bats, like the one, if I can get them, I can't get them. Eye bats like the one on my shoulder fly down out of the trees and they swarm you. I mean, swarm, it's like 6 of them, but 6 every 30 seconds. So as you go through, you're like, and they squeak at you and stuff. So this arrow just indicates that this is the shortest path to get there. Oh, lovely, pop in. This is another alternate path. Arachnophobia, you've been warned. Now I feel bad for anyone who is legit afraid of spiders. That is total, absolute, understandable phobia. No judgment whatsoever, so I wanted to put a sign to warn people. If you go that way, it's going to be freaking creepy with spiders of all sizes. And if you have arachnophobia legit, or even if you think you do, you're not going to want to go that way. Just trust me on that. So, I'm going to go that way. Not because I'm not afraid of spiders, but because I built it, and so I know what to expect. Egg sacs that you have to walk really closely through, super creepy. Yeah, these are just spheres, but when you see, if you stand back, and you see those things moving all around, creepy. So we kind of go through here, and these egg sacs are just set so that you can walk right through them. And they have that squishy sound when you touch them. But you can walk right through them so you don't have to worry about collisions and all that. So here you get to the part of the forest that is actually, yeah, infested with spiders. Egg sacs, the webs, big spiders. I'm going to take the light so we can see a little better because one jumps from the tree. There are some people who, when they walk in Anyland, they use the maximum teleport range. I don't know why, because that doesn't simulate really walking. You'll definitely notice, especially in this long video, that I tend to take short hops to simulate really walking. So I have seen people who do that, who are back here, and they jump forward like that, and it gets stuck to their body. That was never the intent, but I find it hilarious. Ah! Like that! It stuck to my back. Okay. Moving right along. These spiders drop out of the trees. There. Without a light, or if you're just holding the torch that we provide you in the beginning, you can't see them so well. So you just see them drop on you. See if I can get that to work. Yeah. And they're wiggling around, and in the darkness you just see spiders wiggling around everywhere. Super creepy. Again, you'll notice it just ends in a void out there. I didn't do like there. I did the mountains. I kind of made the trees dense enough so that you shouldn't be paying attention to the horizon that's just over there, because you should probably be paying attention to the spooky spider stuff. The fences over there are from the other trail, the safe path. So you get through here. I'm going slow. And the mother of all giant spiders drops down. This is like a D&D boss fight encounter, right? that was just a way to block that path, because there's nothing there anyway. So to have a giant spider drop down using something controller and a when-neared command, it's about here. That comes down, spooks the heck out of you, hopefully, and you should notice that you can't go that way, so you have to go this way, because it's the only other way. So you get through here, and, well, let me take a moment to explain the trees. All these trees, you probably can tell, are the same exact tree. One tree, copied many times, rotated. They have soft snap angles to make it easier, so I can give them a slight rotation to build variants. There are different sizes. This is the medium-sized tree. Back, more towards the beginning, after the donut area, with the S-curve and Delco's Ghost, they're scaled up even bigger to give you just a bigger sense of a tree canopy, as well as block more line of sight. So when you stand here, for example, you really can't see. All you see is tree, and then tree beyond, and tree beyond, and tree beyond. And I was using that as a way to block line of sight without having to do more mountains and jazz. Hopefully this shows up in the video. It looks really good in VR right now. The fog effect to the fences gives you, and the trees back there, just looking straight through, gives, turn this off, ooh, dark, really gives a good depth effect here in VR. Again, not sure if it's going to come out in a 2D video, especially if you're watching on your phone for some reason, I don't know why. But yeah, kudos to Anyland's fog effect. I love it. In Haunted Woods Trails 2, that Delco and I are currently working on for Halloween 2018, oh, there's so many points with a fog effect. I just stop and I'm like, oh, this is so nice. Alright, moving along. Both of these trails take you to this tree and the blood arrow pointer. And this was not lost on most people because, again, it's a Stranger Things reference, and a lot of people realize that right off the bat, which is really cool. If you lean in, and I'm not going to do it because I want to show a few more things. If you lean in here and touch that portal, you will get teleported to a clone world of Haunted Woods Trails. Except we deleted all the lights. We deleted all of the scares and all of the props. We gave it a blue hue with particle effect. One of the area effects, the blue hue with the particle effects floating up, low gravity, and we put vines everywhere. So it really gives you the sense of being in the Upside Down. And we've got a number of compliments on that. So it was a way to do something special to end Haunted Woods Trails. If you got through here, it was kind of like, what do you do now? If you didn't go through the mines and ended up at the Hugo house, which brought you back, why, what do you do here? Like, you're supposed to loop back with, you know. So that was just really thematic fit for that. So, again, this I really like. If you can see the snaking S-curve of the dirt trail, I just used one of the curved parts, flattened, stretched a bit, dirt texture, and then put one down so you get the curve, copied it, flipped it, so basically mirrored it, and lined it up, and then did that a couple times to get a nice S-curve. And at some point those eye bats are going to come out. Nope, there they are. They do their little tumble and they swarm you, and just enough to feel a little creepy. Yeah, more coming out. Ah, run away! Run away! No! Alright, this, you know how many caves like this I built in the underground? I was like, I can't believe I'm building another cave in another world. Go away, go away, go away! So, again, shortcut abandoned mines. Another arrow to indicate people can go in here. They can actually cross. So you go through here, and again, there's bats, but they don't do anything. This is another tension builder. Rail cart, you know, kind of like Minecraft and all that jazz. Very expected. I'm just gonna go through here real quick. Alright, minecarts, and you get here. Again, nothing. Nothing spooky, nothing jumping out at you. Everything's totally cool. You have two choices, but they're going to lead to the exact same way. Very subtle details. There's really not much going on here, because it's pretty dark without... You know, I always spend a lot of attention to lighting and using emitted lights, so you can get lots of lights going on. There's a reason stuff is strobing. It's intentional. So go through here. Like, oh, what's that sign? Obviously it's going to draw your eye. If you're reading this, then you are blissfully unaware of what is creeping up behind you. That gives you a moment of what? When looked at, it triggers that sound effect. He's there the whole time. If you come from here and you go this way, you'll see him first before the sign. You might even miss the sign as you go through. So here, nice little slime falls, courtesy of Fazzy's lava that he let me copy, and I did neon green instead of yellow. So get through here, handprint, bloody arrow, again, to let you know. You're getting through here, it's dark, and it's a strobe light. You're like, what the hell? And yes, there's going to be a momentary load screen here. Wow, there wasn't. I'm actually impressed. That was seamless from my point of view. The light strobing is to give you, just like in the other strobing effect where we did the teleport in the hallway, to give you that sense of inconsistency with what you're seeing, because it goes dark for a second, so your eyes, and then ideally, like what just happened, you don't notice that you got teleported, because it happens so fast at the blink of the darkness. So here you're in, again, cave, ladder, brickwork. Oh, look at that, coming up here, boom. You're in this room. Well, it kind of looks like are we under a staircase? Is this some Harry Potter stuff? What's going on? It's a candle. It's a door, right? No, clearly not interactable. That kind of looks like a candle on a lever. And yes, here we are at the Hugo house. The secret back entrance. That closes really fast. So you can come through here, you can come back. And now that you've gone all the way through, you can go back to the Halloween hub and hang out with people, newcomers and all that jazz. And, you know, you might jump in here and see the guillotine and welcome people in and try to take a ticket. So, that's a run through of, let me get this here, external. That's a run through of Haunted Woods Trails, kind of describing a lot of the effects that we did, the design thoughts. I hope maybe that was useful to some people to see how that goes. Some of the biggest things using or triggering the different effects was definitely when near. That command triggers most of the scares. That guarantees that people will not trigger it too early for themselves. Tell commands up the wazoo. So when near, then tell nearby, tell any, to get stuff to pop off. And then again, building an outdoor area. I found the biggest challenge is blocking line of sight when you have curves and hills up and down, because you don't necessarily want to see what's over the edge of the horizon of the ground. Which, like I pointed out here, there are points where I didn't block a line of sight. It's just kind of like, hey, you shouldn't really be having any focus whatsoever on looking at the horizon. You should be paying attention to the scares and the potential scares ahead of you. Yeah. And so sometimes just throwing down big oval spheres in green to represent hills, easy. No one's looking at the details in the distance, I hope. That's just weird again. So it's just sufficient enough so that as a background element, blocking line of sight there. That's also part of the way the layout is designed in here, and that we've done Haunted Woods Trails 2 as we've been going around, is intentionally making turns or S-curves to block your line of sight as you're going through. That way, again, the other thing, try to prevent things popping in. So things at a distance not rendering because you have so much stuff behind you that is rendering, as that stuff back there stops rendering and vanishes from your point of view, even though you're not looking at it. Stuff in the foreground that you're going towards starts popping in. So if you can make S-curves or 90-degree turns and that, or caves that you have to go through, that'll prevent you seeing most of that stuff popping in. And in Haunted Woods Trails 2, just real quick as an aside, we've used the fog as a really good effect. The fog is denser, I think, than it is in here. Just by a little bit, just enough so that when we have long stretches where we didn't block your line of sight so much, and you can see more into the distance, it's fog. Like, you see the trees, you're like, oh, cool trees, oh, foggier trees, foggier, oh, it's just fog. And as you walk through, things start to fade in because you're getting closer. It's a really neat effect. Yeah, I guess leave any comments, questions of things that you'd like me to explain in the comment section, I guess. I don't know. I hope this was a good overview, just kind of give you a sense of how I design things and how Delco and I went through and designed this whole place in less than 2 months, realistically. Not even working every night. So yeah, anyway, like I said, hope that's helpful to somebody out there, and have a good evening.